Blessed be everyone. Blessed be. Welcome to Mystery Witch School, another YouTube live. I have a crazy cat running around in the background. So if you hear any crazy noises, that's just my cat being crazy. It's raining here and she doesn't want to go outside. Today we are going to be talking about how different people channel information, whether that's intuitive information or information coming from your higher self or coming from your guides or deities, if you work with deities, or whoever you might work with that is not in physical 3D manifestation, how you can connect with the broader consciousness that's out there, because everybody has a different way of connecting. And there's two ways that a lot of people aren't aware of, and also one in particular that a lot of people have, but they just don't know that they have it, and they don't know how to use it or how to tap into it. So we're going to talk about that today. So if you are in the chat, yes, be brave and say hello if you want to. If you're watching the replay, welcome to those of you watching the replay. And if this is the first time that you are with Mystery Witch School, welcome to Mystery Witch School. A little bit about the channel. Here you will find videos on all things Wicca, witchcraft, and magic in general. Also tarot and shadow work. They're probably my main things at the moment that I work with. But magic, of course, involves lots of different things. And I see the magic and the shadow work kind of going together. The channeling aspect, or how we receive information, which is the topic today, is part of being not just a magical person and tapping into your magical self, but it is also just a part of being able to get through life in a way that is much more harmonious. So for those of you who are interested in Wicca and witchcraft, if you want to know where to start your witchcraft practice, but you just don't know, well, where would I begin? What do I learn first? How do I pace myself along the way? Because it can be incredibly confusing out there because there's just so much information out there. I'm just going to put a link in the chat to a free video called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. It goes for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It's not very long. And it just gives you a blueprint for where to start and what to do if you're doing it on your own. And it also gives you another option at the end of that video if you want to learn Wicca and witchcraft with me. So there's a few options there how you can go about doing it. Also, I have two books. One of my books is called Crafting Your Wiccan Path, and the other one is called Tapping into Abundance. And the Tapping into Abundance is my first book, and it is really a bit of a shadow work book. It's where you're working with beliefs about yourself, like shame and guilt and all of those things that are stopping you from being able to achieve the things you want to achieve and do the things you want to do, including magic and the results of magic. So both of those books are available on Amazon. And they're probably the only two books I'll ever write because I don't enjoy writing at all. Okay, so let's get down to the topic of the clairs, as we call them. So that's C-L-A-I-R. We have various different ways of receiving. We are receivers of information. Our brain is a receiver. It's very much a receiver. It's not necessarily creating anything, it's receiving a lot. And we also can transmit energies and frequencies too. So we receive and we can also give. And when we're doing magic, we are putting it out there. We're transmitting our desires, our intentions into the world in order to create what we're wanting to create through magic. And when it comes to either channeling or doing intuitive work or doing divination, we are receiving information and trying to interpret what it is that we're receiving. And there's a number of different ways that we can do that. So I'm just going to go through the main ones. You've probably all heard of clairvoyance, which is being able to see things. So it's maybe you might be someone who sees things in your imagination, in reaction to something, or if you're channeling something, or you're working with your guides, you may see them in your imagination, or you may see them as something similar to a holographic energetic image. Now, I've had the experience of both. I've had the experience where I have actually had, rarely, because I'm not really clairvoyant, it's not my major clair, where I have seen images of a deity as like a holographic energetic image for a split second. And then I've had other experiences where it's more in my imagination, and that for me is often painting a picture of something that I'm receiving through thought or claircognizance. Some people are just naturally very clairvoyant. A lot of people find that they've been clairvoyant their whole life and they've had to maybe hide it because it's often considered in, the mainstream culture, or people who aren't aware, or don't, who just aren't into connecting with anything other than the tangible world, that there could be something wrong with you. And so there are a lot of people who are psychic or who are clairvoyant who will often keep it to themselves. Or you may have had the ability when you were younger and then lost it as you grew up because it was something that may be frowned on or seen as just being not something you want to tell people, that you can see things, or that you're perceiving something beyond what our normal perception should be. So there's a lot of people out there who've had that experience. Okay, Stephanie says, I see a little, I hear and know. Hi, Moira. Hi, Cabot. Okay. I saw Hecate in a dream. I've had images of Odin. Oh, I can't, I've got, YouTube's got something over, is it parents? I can't, YouTube's actually got the little icons on top of the last word, so I can't see it right now, Chad. But as it moves up, I will. So yeah, pop in the chat or in the comments field what your experiences are when it comes to seeing the clairvoyant side of things. You may see things in your imagination, or you may focus on something or tune into something, and you may see an image. I have this experience if I'm doing psychometry. So psychometry is where you would take an object. So, for example, I've got a key here, which is one of my Hecate keys. And if this object, say, belonged to another person and I held it in my hand, I could then tune in and start to see things that are related to that person's life, or whatever the question is that that person has for me. And that's just something that's I see in my imagination, as I would if I was having a dream, or I'm daydreaming, or visualizing for a spell or something like that. And that's probably the most common way that people who are clairvoyant will see, not necessarily seeing the more holographic image outside of oneself. That that hasn't happened to me that often, but some people it happens a lot. Okay. Could you help me connect with Lilith or the Morrigan? Hi, Josh. Okay. Yes, yes. So when it comes to connecting with deities, you can use these abilities to connect with the deities when you are asking to connect with them. So that's something that we will talk about during this when I get to how you can then tap into your clair. So that was clairvoyance. If you are somebody who hears things, so this is where you might hear sounds, you might hear words. Some of you may have already had the experience of the hypnagogic or the hypnopompic hallucinations that you might have when you're going into sleep or coming out of sleep into wakefulness, where you may hear your name being called. That's a clairaudient experience. So that's an auditory experience. And I have had those too. I don't have the auditory ones much at all. It's usually only when I'm in a hypnagogic or hypnopompic state that I would get a clairaudient. But some people are, so you might get it through sound, and that's or even again, it can either be like a sound that sounds like it's outside of yourself, or it can be an imaginary sound that you're hearing in your imagination, but in your auditory imagination as opposed to your visual imagination. And if you are somebody who does a lot of magic, you will also be using your auditory skills as part of your magic too, of course, because when we're doing spell work or magic, we're using our visualization skills, auditory skills, smell, even as well as touch and as many senses basically as we can. And clairaudience, again, is something you've probably always had, or maybe you had it as a kid and then lost the ability because, again, it was frowned on and you didn't want to, go down that pursuit. But you can always get these back again through the practice of meditation, through the practice of concentration skills, and if it's clairaudience, listening for subtle sounds in your imagination. With clairvoyance, if you're trying to get that back again, because you've had it in the past, it's first working with your imagination, going into meditation, having the ability to be able to concentrate for a certain amount of time, at least to be able to concentrate for a few minutes is important so that all of the noise of the yap, yap, yap mind, monkey mind, can settle down and you can start to really get into the flow of seeing or the flow of hearing in your mind's eye first, and then you may find that the what appears to be external information such as that holographic sort of vision or sound is then going to perhaps come back into your life again if that's what you want it to do. Okay, I can hear spirits. Yep, so clairaudient as well. Telepathy, yes. And even like telepathy can be auditory, of course. It can also be visual. And telepathy can also be sentient as well as cognizant. So our ability to be able to communicate with other people or animals is also based on these clairs as well. And if you want to practice communicating with others and you don't have a human to practice communicating with, you can always practice telepathy and your clairs on connecting with a pet or some animals that might be around you, or even plants and trees as well, because we can communicate with them through these senses too. Hi, Vern. Okay. So they're probably the most common. Clairaudience and clairvoyance are probably the most common. When you see psychics out there, often they're clairvoyant or they're clairaudient. And so a lot of people think that in order to be psychic or in order to be able to connect and channel or do divination or have telepathy, that you have to be either clairvoyant or clairaudient, and that's not true. For a lot of us, there are other ways that we receive information, okay? And I wanna get on to those particularly because they are particularly claircognizance is a really tricky one to really connect to and to really understand, and a lot of people are claircognizant. Okay. Do you have any mentor type things to help connect with them? Yeah, in my course. Yep. Okay. So just having a chat there. Good. So the next one I wanted to talk about is clairsentience. But before I do, I wanted to normally when I talk about the clairs, I'll talk about clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance. But I've also know people who are have clairolfaction, which is through smell. So they smell things and they get information about maybe connection with spirits. So, for example, if a relative has passed over, they may smell them from time to time. They may smell different scents in certain situations and be alerted to whether something has a high vibe or something has a lower vibration simply through the smell. So that's another way. It's probably more rare, but you may find that you may have that sense of smell as well as maybe one of the other clairs as well. Most people have more than one clair, but you may have a dominant one. And another one, which is incredibly rare too, was clairgustance, which is tasting. So that's something I had never heard of before, clairgustance, and I went on to Google and, I discovered what that was, so that's something new. So you may be somebody who tastes things, and if you are, let me know because I don't know anyone who does that, who has a taste, will come in, they'll taste something in response to, maybe spirit guides or a spirit or divination where you're actually tasting it. That would be really interesting. Okay. I used to smell my grandmother's perfume long after she died. Yes. So, another one which is common for a lot of people is clairsentience. And this is where you're experiencing the information coming through feeling. And this is a energetic feeling that you're experiencing it. So, for example, when my father passed, and I was there with my father when he passed over, I felt a presence come over him. It was like a presence, and I felt that. I felt it physically in my body. My body felt it, but it wasn't in my body, if that makes sense. It wasn't like a muscular experience like an emotion is. If you're having joy or you're having sadness, we actually have a muscular reaction to those emotions, and so you feel it in your muscles. With clairsentience, you may feel it in your muscles. You may very well feel an emotion in your muscle as a response to something coming in, information coming in, or it may be a subtle feeling that is energetic. And I find it, for me personally, it's energetic. It's not a muscular experience, it's an energetic experience. I've also felt it with the heart chakra. It feels like the heart chakra is opening up sometimes of its own accord. And that feeling, some people might feel chills going up your spine if perhaps you're in a location that has a particular vibe. So if you're clairsentient, one of the ways that you can use that is to, again, calm the mind down and just feel your body in space. What is your body feeling right now around it? It's like your energy field, even if you just imagine an energy field around you, however you want to imagine that, whether it's like a vibrating, pulsing light that's around your body. What are you feeling? What's the energy around you feel like? And if you want to play with getting used to this sense, if you feel that this is one of yours, go to various different locations and spend some time concentrating and just feeling into that location. Okay. What does my body feel like when I'm in, say, a shopping mall? What do I feel when I'm in a pub? What do I feel when I'm in nature? What do I feel at, say you're at the ocean and it's really windy and the sea is rough? Maybe you could, if you're lucky enough to be able to be somewhere like on a gorge or something where there's a lot of rough ocean. What does that feel like body-wise, energetically, in your subtle body? What does that feel like? And a calm ocean or a calm little stream, a rippling little stream, what does that feel like? And how do they feel different? Because they will feel different. It's how you're picking up the energy, and water is great at that because big waves really generate a lot of energy than, say, the smaller or calmer does. And so it's a good way to start practicing and tuning into your clairsentience, into your sentience, and um, just in general, because there's a lot of energy there. So different places in nature. You could choose forest locations, desert locations if you have that access to that, and the different energy and what you're feeling in your body on a subtle energy level when you're in those environments. If you're somebody who likes to go on historical tours, go on historical places that have had various different things happen in those historical places. Places that perhaps have had a lot of suffering, for example, and feel into what it is that you're sensing if you go into a place like that. Abandoned institutions, abandoned hospitals, abandoned prisons, they all carry an energy. And going into these various locations and just to sense how the energy's changed and how the energy is different will help you really tune into your clairsentience. And maybe it will surprise you as to how tuned in you can be so quickly. Because that's the best way to get your clairsentience happening, is to put yourself in different locations, different social locations, different social environments. If you're what do you feel at work? If you work in an environment where there's other people, what is the energy there? What do you feel? Do you feel different things with different people? How does your body react to different people or different groups of people or different environments compared to a social environment with friends, the people that you choose to spend time with? How is that different? And play with that, because it really means to develop clairsentience, you've got to put yourself into different situations where the energy is so that you can have the different experiences that way. With claircognizance, this is where you're tuning into your intuition or your guides or deities through thought. This is packets of thought. And this is something people don't realize they have. If you think, oh, I'm not clairvoyant, I'm not clairaudient, I don't smell anything, or maybe I don't really taste anything, maybe occasionally. Clairsentience, maybe, yes, I can sense, maybe the bad vibe in a certain area, or go into a house, for example, that might be haunted and you might feel something. But maybe it's not something that's very strong for you. Particularly if you do divination, like if you work with tarot cards, if you're working with runes, claircognizance can be really, really helpful to you. Because it's packets of thoughts that are coming to you, but you have to learn how to work with your thoughts to be able to access the thought, because some of our thoughts are programmed thoughts from our upbringing, and we often have emotional reactions to those thoughts and beliefs. And so we have to learn the difference between what's an intuitive thought coming in from, say, spirit, intuition, guides, or what is a programmed thought coming in from basically our ego programs. And this again is where meditation comes in and watching your thoughts comes in. Just watching thought, just observing your thoughts at first, how they move from one thing to one thing to one thing to one thing to one thing, and seeing how thought works and just observing it. And doing concentration exercises where you're trying to slow that thinking down, basically slowing the beta waves down to become alpha waves. Concentration exercises are good for all of the clairs, so not just claircognizance, but all of them. And a good concentration exercise is staring at a candle flame and just looking into the flame and trying to look into the flame as long as you can without actually having a thought. And that's hard. You might only be able to do that for a second or two to begin with. Another great device for concentration exercises are the old clocks, the clocks that had a second hand and that have the face from 1 to 12, and you can watch the second hand go around and around and around. And you try to just stay with that second hand without necessarily having a thought. Now, of course, you're going to have a thought. So you haven't failed if you have a thought, but the goal is to try and slow the thoughts down so that you're having periods of time where you're not having as many thoughts, essentially. And this will help you tune in to the quiet of your mind so that you can receive information either coming through vision, coming through sound, coming through feeling, coming through taste, coming through smell, or coming through thought. It's a way of opening you up to listening for these things, and the meditation and concentration's really important. Even if you're naturally very good at something, like clairvoyance, for example, or it's spontaneous, it just happens out of the blue and you don't feel you have any control over it when it happens. If you do regular meditation and concentration exercises, you have more control over your ability. You have much, much more discernment about what's coming in and when it's coming in. It just gives you more control over your mind, and it's really quite an important thing. When it comes to claircognizance, automatic writing is really, really good. So this is where you either type into a computer or you write into a journal, and you spend at least 3 to 5 minutes just writing without any editing whatsoever. So it's like you're just getting whatever you're thinking down on paper and capturing it. It does slow down your thoughts. So it's another method of slowing your thoughts down, because you have to slow down in order to type or in order to write, because the speed of thought is much faster than our ability to type and write. So it slows you down. It gets it out there on paper so that you can see the thoughts. And if you're just allowing yourself to write down what you're thinking, or even to record it, if you need the extra speed, record it into your phone, you speaking your thoughts into the phone. Once you've done your 3 minutes or your 5 minutes, go back over what you've written and reread it and have a look and see what jumps out at you. When you're reading it, is something more prominent? Do you go, oh, that's interesting. Oh, is there a part of you that's reacting to what it is that you write before you've actually thought about the reaction? Like it's just like a knee-jerk reaction to something you've written. And when you come across those words or those phrases or those sentences, highlight them or in some way so that you can come back to them and see what those thoughts are that you took notice of when you were reading your automatic writing. And you may find that the things that are standing out or coming out at you, what that feeling is when that happens, because that is a way that you can start to listen to your thoughts and connect with your intuition through your thinking and allowing your claircognizance to come through, because we are receivers of packets of thought. If you're working with another person through divination, then you also can be working with receiving what they're thinking. So this just opens your intuition up more and your listening skills up to listen to the thoughts or however the information comes to you. Okay. Um, okay. Sometimes get images in my mind, or I feel different emotions when going to historical places. Yep. That would be a clairsentience experience. So tune into that, because that's information about the place that you're visiting or the person you're interacting with, if you're interacting with a person. All of these clairs can give us information. They can answer questions. So if you have a question, something's been baffling you, you can use these skills to answer the question, because you can use it to tune into your higher self and your higher self's guidance, working with your spirit guides and their guidance. Your higher self is really the one to work with, because it is the one that is, after all, you. And the higher you, the you that is much broader and has a much broader perspective of things, and reconnecting with that true self, your higher self, your true will, whatever you want to call it, is a way for you to get on track with your path and what it is that you're doing here and why you came here. The exercises around listening to your thoughts not only is helpful for you to pick those packets of intuitive thoughts so that you can then use them to answer a question or help you make a decision or understand something more clearly. You can also see all of the other thoughts that are in there as well, which are programmed thoughts from childhood about yourself and the world around you. And this is really great for doing the shadow work if you're wanting to eliminate beliefs that are not helpful to you, that you feel are in your way and are stopping you from moving forward, because these beliefs feel real. And they only feel real until they're changed. And when they're changed, they no longer feel real. And it's a real opening up then to your higher self, your truer self, when you eliminate these ego programs. And that will help you receive the information, a lot more information, more often, because these other ego thoughts aren't in the way, basically. And thought can be in the way of clairvoyance, it can be in the way of clairaudience, it can be in the way of any of the clairs, because it can color your ability to see clearly, because this part of you may be judging what you're seeing. It may be criticizing what you're seeing. It might be telling you that what you're seeing is not what you're seeing, or that it shouldn't be that way, that it's another way, or it should be another way. And so when you can clear out all of these beliefs about yourself and the world that may not actually be true, and a lot of them aren't, a lot of them are lies that we've picked up, then you can see more clearly whether it's clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, or clairaudience. You'll be able to see more clearly, and the clear information will be clearer for you. Okay. How do I differentiate my mind's thoughts from messages from spirit? Yeah, so that's the automatic writing is a good way to do that. And again, getting to know your thoughts, getting to know your habitual thoughts, because a lot of our thinking is habitual. We actually think the same thoughts a lot every day. So when you're writing down or doing some automatic writing, you may find that there's thoughts that you're thinking constantly. And they're the habitual thoughts that are coming from our ego programming. And in between those thoughts, you may get then the intuitive thoughts. So if you're doing the automatic writing, that will help you see the habitual thoughts, which are rubbishy in a way, because they're not necessarily true. And the thoughts that, and even when you look at those thoughts, when you're doing the highlighting or circling of your reread of your automatic writing, there'll be a reaction to that thought. You'll have a reaction to that that's different to your reaction to a habitual thought. It may be clairsentient, because we usually have more than one clair operating. So you may find if you're claircognizant, you may also be clairsentient, and you may also have other clairs too. You're not just having one, but one will be probably more predominant than the other. So you can use them all together if you want. But the automatic writing is really good for claircognizance. So many distractions today keep us from learning to concentrate and focus. Technology-free day now and then is helpful. Absolutely, Maura. That is just so true. Our world's designed to distract us away from who we truly are. Our world, and the people in control of the world, and it's like a pyramid. You've got the affluent, 1% at the top who have the wealth and the power and the control to be able to control information, to be able to control technology, to be able to control the money, to be able to control pretty much everything. And the distractions around us take us away from our spiritual work, take us away from our inner work, take us away from connecting with our guides, connecting with deities, connecting with who we truly are. And when we're distracted by all the goings on in the outside world, all the conflicts and everything that go on in the world, all of the political debates and the this and the that and the ideologies competing with each other, and then you've got the whole left and the right and the whole squabbles in between, we're distracted by all of that. It's a distraction. It's distracting us away from the work on ourselves, where we could actually come back to center, connect to our spiritual connection, to our divine spark, which we are. We're all divine sparks, connecting back with that again and being able to then see the world from a much broader perspective and not get caught up in the drama of the world around us, to be able to walk our path as we came here to walk it, connect back with spirit again, connect back with our guides again. And if every human being on this planet was able to do that, the world would be a very, very, very different place. It would not be the same world. We would not be experiencing the same things in this world that we're experiencing right now. But all of the distractions are designed to take us away from our spiritual self. And it is very much to keep us locked in ego, to keep us locked in guilt, to keep us locked in shame, to keep us locked in fear more than anything, locked in scarcity mentality, locked in all of these things so that we lose our power. And every time we're distracted, and it happens to us all, we're giving our power away to the distraction. But when we come back to doing our meditation, our concentration, working on our magic, working on our path, connecting to deities, we're taking our power back and empowering ourselves again. So, yeah. Okay, listening. Yes, listening is that, and it's listening to self in a way. It's listening to the information that's coming through. I sort of see the thoughts, even though the thoughts aren't necessarily sound like clairaudience is. I still feel I have to listen to my thoughts or listen to my body. Yeah, it's developing the art of listening, which is concentration and observation. So observing your thoughts, observe as you would with automatic writing, observing your body and your feelings in a certain environment with clairsentience, observing what you see in your imagination, what you hear in your imagination, just observing those things. You may find that if you're, say, clairsentient or claircognizant, that you may find that you have the ability to be able to paint a picture of your thoughts. So you may be receiving in thought, but you're able to give that thought a vision. You could see certain things. You may see an image, for example, but the image is actually coming from thought. It's not necessarily coming from direct image. And there's ways that you can work with giving life to, say, thoughts in a way that you could explain visually or explain through words, perhaps. So you can play with these things. You don't have to, stick to the same thing. I find that with the claircognizance for me, which is really my probably dominant one, I can then give my thoughts, I can communicate my thoughts through maybe visual imagery or through words, obviously. And I can also tune in the clairsentience into those thoughts as well and connect that sense in as well and paint a feeling picture from the thoughts that are coming in. Okay. Okay. So strange. When I do funerals or funeral homes, I feel relief and not grief. And when I go to a hospital, I feel hopelessness, fear, anxiety, and anger. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Definitely. Hospitals, unfortunately, are really negative, energetic places. The vibe in hospitals is not a healing vibe at all. Our Western mindset around health is not healing. We're not into healing. It really isn't a healing environment. There's a lot of stress going on with the staff because they're usually short-staffed. So there's a lot of stress there. They're under a lot of pressure. It's not a healing environment. The vibe is often very, very low in those environments, just simply because of the way we structure things in the West. Yeah. Okay. Was there a commercial? I didn't see the little thing that came up. Yeah, we've got no choice now. They just throw the commercials in. TV is a terrible distraction from the spiritual. It puts your mind to sleep on autopilot. Yep, it does. It does. And social media can too. At least with social media, you can be selective with what you watch, whereas television, sometimes you can't be so selective, but it is a way of distraction. So, a good way to work with all of this is to allocate a certain amount of time that you want to work on developing your abilities. And when it comes to the distractions such as television or even social media, allocate time for that too. So you're giving that part of you that wants to be distracted, you're giving it a bone, throwing it a bone like you would a dog, and getting it, allowing it to be distracted because it is it is something that is okay for us to do. But sometimes we latch on to it a little bit more than we should, and we allow ourselves to get distracted because this work isn't easy. This work it requires work. You've got to sit down, you've got to face yourself, you've got to do the writing or go to a place or do the work basically. And we tend to have shy away from anything that requires a little bit of work. There may even be a little bit of fear involved in doing the work too, such as, oh, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not good enough. That's probably one of the number one fears for this sort of work is I'm not good enough. I don't know how to do it. I'll never know how to do it. I'll never be good enough. Those beliefs are distractions too, and they can actually keep you distracted away from actually doing the work. So be mindful of those beliefs too. If you find that you want to learn magic, you want to learn witchcraft, but you find that you keep getting distracted away from it, what's the belief that you have? It'll be a habitual ego belief that you have that's actually stopping you from doing it. And it's probably a fear of not being good enough or not knowing enough or not enough in some way, shape, or form. Connecting with deities, for example, can be a fear-based thing too, like, "I'm not good enough. I don't know how to do it. Are the deities going to want to connect with me?" And so it's easier sometimes to avoid doing it than to actually just sit down and try it, and then try it again, and 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 try it again. So those thoughts, "I'm not enough, I'm not good enough," are really detrimental to the craft. So if you have those thoughts. Connecting with deities is something that I do teach in the Mystery Witch School 101, and I know that, Josh, I think you were asking about that further along. We do a lot of work with deities, because, they're fun to work with, and, we do that in Mystery Witch School in the later modules. It's a 12-month course, so from about month 8, you start working with particular deities. And I teach you how you can connect with the various deities. And at first, it probably seems difficult, but as you practice it every day, because we do a daily practice, you start to connect, you start to feel it because it's a practice thing. It's just something you do every day. And a daily practice on your craft is going to help you become more intuitive, connect more with your guides and deities, as well as connecting more to yourself and your purpose. So that's why I teach a daily practice in the Mystery Witch School 101. In that course, too, we do energy work. There's a lot of energy work there. There's a lot of guided meditations to help you with your skills and your abilities. There's a little bit of shadow work there too, a little bit of self-inquiry there. I always see shadow work as being a positive thing. It's not about judging yourself or beating yourself up. It's just about looking under the hood and seeing what's there because we all have a shadow self. And when you can understand your shadow self and embrace and have that love for yourself and respect for yourself, it actually makes it easier for you to be less judgmental of other people as well. We also do work with magic as well and the lunar energies and the Sabbats, as I was talking about. So if you do want to learn witchcraft with me, work with various deities, which And that information that I give for working with various deities can also be transposed to any deity. So you can utilize that form to connect with any deity. It doesn't have to be only those deities. I will put a link in the description field. There is a link in the description field underneath this video if you're watching the replay, but I'll also just put one in the chat as well. So that's the 12-month course. And if you go to that link, that will give you a whole lot of information about what the course is and, how much it is and all of that stuff there. You can also find it on my website, mysterywitchschool.com, under the courses tab. But on the homepage of my website, if you scroll down, it's probably the first bit of information about courses there. I think it's the first one there, or the second one. But just scroll down and you'll see all of the things that I have. I have courses on shadow work as well. So that's the Wheels of Empowerment, working with the chakras and shadow work. And also tarot course as well. So if you're wanting to learn to read tarot using your intuition and exercising your clairs to do tarot reading, there's the Confident Tarot Reader course there as well. And you can find that on my YouTube channel and also on my website as well. Okay. Would it be easier to have audio? Was auto writing the way to go? Look, audio is good too. If you're somebody who finds that you miss things if you're writing it down, certainly use audio. And then as you play the audio back to yourself, take note of the things that stood out to you about what it is that you spoke. You may have to re-listen to it more than once in order to get it. Whereas when you're writing, you only have to scroll through once and highlight what you see once. You don't want to think too much about any of this either. It's not like you go with what jumps out at you and you take note of what's just jumped out of you. You might not even know why it's jumped out. It might be a word, it might be a sentence, it might be a phrase, and you might not know why that's jumped out at you, why you want to write it, why you want to highlight it, but just highlight it anyway. Because when you go back again, you can look at what you've highlighted and see what that actually says, because it might just be pointing out one thing. It might be pointing out a couple of things, but you'll find that you'll get a sense then of how you react to a thought that is coming from your intuition. You will also receive thoughts and feelings about your own stuckness too. So if you're stuck on something, like if you're doing some automatic writing and you might be writing about somewhere where you're stuck in your life or stuck in a decision, you'll find that the answer is in that writing there somewhere. The answer is in that feeling there somewhere. So just take notice of what those are, because the answer to your problem will be there. The solution will be there. You may uncover also some of your negative thinking and limited thinking when you do the automatic writing too, and that's really good because you'll see how your habitual thinking isn't helping you, and that maybe it's time to do some work on clearing those beliefs, which is certainly something I can help you with there, either working one-on-one, because I do work one-on-one with people as well, clearing negative beliefs and programs that are stopping you from fully being who you are and connecting to who you truly are and doing what you want to do in the world, as well as the shadow work course, which is the chakra course. Okay. We're always encouraged to act, to achieve. We need more emphasis on receptive yin energy. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're very, very pushed into being productive, 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 be productive, be productive. And whilst being productive is good, we have to also have the yin energy. We have to have the restorative, receiving, intuitive energy. We can't always be in that yang energy. We've got to also be in the yin and balance it out. And again, the push in our culture to be productive is a distraction from us being able to be more reflective and look more within ourselves and connecting more with our spirituality, whatever that is for you. Okay. I have my grandmother's iron bastet. She protects myself, cat's home, and I keep a small bowl of water near her at her feet. Oh, wow. Oh, and organic catnip. Beautiful. Beautiful offerings to Bastet. Yes, and you may find that it's a belief that you have too, Casey, with the, needing to be productive, and that's a belief that we probably a lot of us have, and if we're not being productive, there may be a sense of guilt or shame around it. So you may find that spending time meditating or being reflective or reading and learning, you may find that there may be a little bit of guilt or shame associated with it because of the program, meaning that you're only a worthy person if you're being productive all of the time, and that's simply not true. It's not true at all. So if you have that belief, have a look and see what your beliefs are around productivity and challenge them. Challenge those beliefs. See where they come from, probably upbringing, and I mean by upbringing, not just family upbringing, but school and greater, broader culture as well, because we're brought up not just by our families, we're also brought up by the schools, and we're brought up by the greater culture around us and all of the people and institutions that we come into contact with as children. They are influencing us and our beliefs about ourselves and the world around us. And we're little psychic sponges when we're before the age of 7. And so we pick up all of these beliefs before that age usually, and then we carry them with us into adult life, and until we update the program and change what's not working for us as adults, we're going to stay stuck in those beliefs, and they're like a ball and chain, those beliefs. They really do weigh you down, and they do stop you from moving forward. Okay, she called out to me to please have my water and catnip after the bowl runs dry. Okay, okay. I was told to rest by one of the deities I work with one night. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So if you've got beliefs about it, maybe there's a belief that you have to be productive to be a good person, or you have to be productive to be a spiritual person, or you have to be productive to be good enough for something, or you have to be productive to be a worthwhile person. You have to be productive to this. Find out what the beliefs are. I have to be productive because if I'm not productive, I am, and just listen to what those beliefs might be, and you'll see what's driving that addiction to production. Yeah, and then if you can work on changing those beliefs, which is the big thing, you'll find that you're not going to stop being productive. It's not going to stop you from that. In fact, you'll probably become more productive in a way, but with less energy and having to put less time and energy into the productive, because the productive's coming from a more of a flow rather than a force, if that makes any sense. Treasures of the heart. Okay. Japanese art. Oh, lovely. Okay. You got some black magic incense burning. Awesome. Wonder what's in that. What's in that incense? That old black magic. It's a good song. Okay, so that was today. That was the theme for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. Once again, if you want to learn any of these things with me, the Mystery Witch School 101 is there for you to learn Wicca and Witchcraft with me. Wheels of Empowerment course is there if you want to do some shadow work in a course format. You still have access to me along the way. With that, too, you can work one-on-one with me for shadow work or for tarot coaching or any of those things. And you can also become a tarot reader yourself by doing the Confident Tarot Reader course. It's all of that information is actually on my YouTube channel under all of my videos. And there are links to my website on my YouTube channel. And you can also go to mysterywitchschool.com and find out all of that information there. Okay. So blessed be everyone. Have a wonderful week. I'm not sure if there's gonna be a live next week. If there is, it would probably be on a Tuesday. Otherwise, there may not be a live for another 2 weeks, but there will be videos on a Monday, to compensate for that. So, hopefully, I will see you soon, and have, a wonderful week or a wonderful fortnight, and we'll see you again soon.